Penumbra Requiem was released by Frictional Games as a free expansion to Penumbra Black Plague, a first-person survival horror game that was, itself, a sequel to Penumbra Overture. While Requiem has far less of a reputation compared to the previous two titles, due to its focus shifting more on puzzles and problem-solving rather than horror and survival, there are still many odd and interesting aspects to the game that most players might not even know about. Here are the top 10 facts about Penumbra Requiem. As, unfortunately, expected by now, typos are present within the game, mostly in the subtitles and interaction pop-ups. This trend, fortunately, would largely end with Requiem, as Frictional Games titles, namely Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Beyond, had far less grammatical errors following Requiem's release. The dreamlike, or nightmarish, realms of Requiem's setting are very barren, with mostly no enemies to be seen. By the strictest sense, there are no enemies seen whatsoever, though clues and implications of being watched and followed are riddled about the levels. Dr. Eminus and Red, previous characters from the Penumbra series, contact Philip, the protagonist, through radios he finds.
Good day, can you hear me? There is no time to explain. Well, in fact, time is one of the few things we have in abundance down here. What surprises are spoiled by such catty curiosity.
Ah, Philip, it is I, your friend, Dr. Eminus. Were you expecting somebody else? I already know that you'll come to find me, but I invite you all the same.
Good day. Good day. Can you hear me? There is no time. Ah, Red's humor has not faded along with his pulse.
The narrator, the voice heard previously over the shelter's announcement loudspeakers, begins to address Philip directly.
The archaic demand, the archaic demand, the archaic demand. The archaic demand, the archaic demand, the archaic demand. The archaic demand. Thank you, Philip. The archaic demands respect among its workers. Cogwheels are designed to fit on cog spokes. Once fitted, qualified personnel, that's you, should operate the cogwheel button. You should probably get going.
And there is also a brief sighting of a giant gray rockworm in the sewers. Though its reality is questionable at best. One change within Requiem most players would actually realize right away is the lack of a proper journal. Only personal notes are present and accessible in the trance-like places of Requiem. There are no notes within these places either, only strange glowing books that aren't actually read by the protagonist, and instead cause him to hear disembodied voices from Elof Carpenter, yet another character from the past Penumbra games, a character presumed to be deceased.
Name, Elof Carpenter. Status, Code C. Confused. archaic recommendation. Regardless of my own outcome, it now seems essential to me that this environment be documented to the fullest degree. I somehow doubt anyone capable of finding the entrance to this place will ever find the exit. But my responsibilities cannot falter.
Concerning Elof Carpenter, upon the very first book being picked up, a flashback of sorts overtakes the player's vision, giving a mental image of the room Elof was imprisoned in before the events of Penumbra Black Plague.
Name, Elof Carpenter. Rank, elevated. Status, Code C, imprisoned.
However, this image is technically impossible to serve as a flashback, as the person whose view it is from is holding the flashlight, which the player, or Philip, does not acquire until after being through this particular area in the game. It's possible, this is from Elof's perspective, but impossible to know that for certain. Dr. Eminis's voice is heard via a tape the player picks up from a strange vending machine after placing it in a nearby deck.
Patient, Dr. Eminis. Medical examiner, Dr. Eminis.
And another mental image overcomes their vision. This one is more likely to be a flashback from Philip's perspective, as Eminis is seen attacking after he became infected.
The trick was played, and your mind flashed that it was but another final record. And yet it is I, Red, your faithful companion, returned not just for Christmas, but wholesale for the foreseeable...
Later, another definite flashback during contact with Red, another character from the past, shows Red's previous fate, burning alive. Even though this is also technically impossible to serve as Philip's flashback, it was present in the Penumbra Black Plague intro.
I incinerated my best friend. Red told me he wanted to die. You had to know how guilty I felt.
These, with the addition of a corpse, are technically the only physical appearances of other humanoids in the entire game of Requiem. In the sewers, the level is laid out in such a way that the player must traverse platforms and bridges over water. Boxes and ladders are placed around the level to help the player out, though it's possible to go through the level slightly out of order due to an exploit in the HPL-1 physics engine. In fact, the only previous instances of the player being able to swim were in much smaller levels and locations, not leaving much room for these exploits at all. The surface station offers some small bits of hope, or false hope, to Philip, the protagonist, in the form of a helipad, and an opening in the fence surrounding the area. Unfortunately for him, and the player, all attempts to exit the station, conventionally, lead to failure. When the player seemingly summons an aircraft to the area, it is heard flying overhead. But all that's deposited is a key to open the next portal. If the player tries to walk beyond the perimeter, they are simply teleported back to the middle of the map. Whatever forces took hold of Philip's mind, clearly, simply do not want him to stray too far off track. If all of the hidden collectible artifacts are found and picked up, after the end credits of Requiem, a secret transmission is revealed. It is revealed to be yet another part of the email Philip sends to his unknown friend that all of the Penumbra games have been showing the player bits of, gradually over time, through intros, loading screens, and otherwise. Much of Philip's inner motives and thoughts are revealed within these last paragraphs of his email. It gives surprising insight to the deeper meanings of the messages the games had been conveying to the player. Simply put, to think for oneself. Curiously, within the game files, if one takes a look at the textures for the glowing orbs that are used as keys on the portals within each level, the Shelter's logo, the organization within the game itself, is placed in the interior of the sphere. This is not visible in Requiem's normal gameplay, and might indicate the orb keys are a leftover item from Black Plague, or perhaps served a different purpose altogether than what was originally planned. Finally, after the release of Penumbra Black Plague, and before Penumbra Requiem was even known to the public, there was moderate discussion on whether or not another installment of the series would be developed and released, despite claims that Penumbra Black Plague was the last installment of the series. On April 1st of 2008, as an April Fool's joke, an announcement for Penumbra 3, Back with a Vengeance, was posted to related Frictional Games websites as a fake sequel with themes completely polar opposite to what the series had established prior.
Frictional Games announces Penumbra sequel, Penumbra 3, Back with a Vengeance, to be released worldwide Q1 2009. Helsingborg, Sweden. Frictional Games proudly announces the release of a third game in the Penumbra series named Back with a Vengeance. This highly anticipated chapter in the Penumbra story will have the protagonist making a final stand against the alien threat faced in Black Plague. We really thought that the last game ended in rather lame fashion, and wanted this series to go out with a bang, says the co-owner, Thomas Cribb. And what a better way to create a bang than with an action-filled, blood-soaked ending. Everyone loves explosions, and we feel that we need to cash in on that too. The game starts out as Philip awakens in a dark basement. Dazzled and confused, he starts doing the only thing he can, pumping those muscles. By using his engineering skills, he starts building one badass gym and makes sure no aliens will mess with him anymore. Full of steroids and 110% raw muscle strength, Philip sets out to destroy the alien threat with machine guns, bazookas, and hand-to-hand techniques. Main features include physically simulated gym. At any point during the game, Philip can start pumping the iron. Bucket loads of blood and gore. Time button events to further enhance the action. A great arsenal with all kinds of guns, rifles, and weapons of mass destruction. No bloody puzzles. Adult-only reading. You know you want it.
As we know now, Requiem was eventually released as the real successor to Black Plague, though ultimately as a free expansion and not a true sequel. That'll close this case on the top 10 facts about Penumbra Requiem. If you enjoyed this kind of content and want to see more, please consider subscribing and share this video with your friends. Gratitude to all horror fans for watching. I'm the Midnight Researcher, and I will see you all around. Stay scared.